Welcome to episode 19 of 22 Man Game with Jared and Dame. I'm Jared, that's Dame and we are coming to you in the late hours of December 2nd, 2025, a Tuesday. Yeah, it's 8:46 here, so much of the world already asleep, but in the central time zone, we press on. Uh, I am joking. Damon, how was your week?
It was a good week for the most part, with the exception of some things I'm sure we'll talk about. I'm so thankful for everything and everyone that's important to me. Yay. Now I'm back at work. Boo. And 3 weeks until the next break. Let's go. Let's go December. Let's get right on through it. How are you?
I'm doing okay. It was nice to go home, see family, just the right length of trip, I would say. Got to do some fun stuff, but when I was ready to go home, I was going home. My mom and stepdad, very generous, got my girlfriend and I a new television for our living room. Nothing too like crazy. We don't have a ton of room in there, but something bigger and a little more modern than the $40 Goodwill pickup that was our primary TV uh, for the entire time I've lived in Austin, pretty much. So, bit bigger, got some nice resolution, has a port to take advantage of the Nintendo Switch 2, having that HDMI 2.1, which is nice. And good to watch football on, seems to be the consensus. So, very excited about all of that. And yes, some tribulations on Thanksgiving Day for those of us in Honolulu Blue, but we will get to that in due time. I want to jump straight into the news before we go into the games. There was one thing that you put on our list, Damon. What did you want to bring up here?
Something that isn't tragic. Yay.
Let's freaking go.
Must have slipped past me this week. I don't know. Wanted to shout out Jets owner Woody Johnson and the Betty Wold Foundation for providing a $1 million grant to the Eastern College Athletic Conference because they are trying to grow the landscape of what is women's flag football. So obviously, football probably the most masculine sport in terms of relation to what people think of. Like, if they're like, what's the most manly sport? People probably think football as one of the primary answers. So, very cool to see women's flag getting more attention, more looks at as they try to grow. I didn't even know it was a thing. I mean, like, I probably could have guessed that there was a women's flag football league, but like, I didn't know that there was like a dedicated, thing for it.
Yeah, the NFL likes to advertise with it when they advertise flag during games. They'll often feature women flag football players, and part of me wonders if the NFL might view a women's league as sort of a similar to how like the XFL introduced some changes to the way NFL broadcasts are made. Maybe this is a good test ground for the NFL to see whether a flag football based product is viable, as I think health concerns around the game will only continue to grow. And um, I know that flag can sort of serve as a middle ground for families who don't feel comfortable letting their kids play tackle football. So it's great in general to see women's sports get elevated. I'm always happy to see that. I know the WNBA is negotiating with its players right now. So this is a nice step by the Jets owner here to help propel women's sports a little further. And I'm glad you added this to the rundown.
Yes, sir. I'm glad too. Let's talk about week 13. Oh boy, what a week it was.
Woo! Yep. Big time. Big time.
4 days of football. Lots going on.
Yeah. To be honest, me personally, not a lot of results I rooting for an NFC team was a fan of, but that is okay. There were plenty of fun upsets, plenty of good contests. I went back and watched the abridged version of a few games that really jumped out to me on the schedule, and I'm excited to talk about them in addition to some of the other surprising or exhilarating results of the week. But before that, every week, Damon and I spin a wheel. We get a team on that wheel. We talk about the team on that wheel after watching their game. And Damon, you are first this week. Who is on your wheel? What did that game look like?
Yeah, my wheel team was the Bengals, which was exciting because it was the return of Joey B, Joe Cool. What else do they call that guy? I don't remember.
I call him Joey
Anyways,
Bones for no reason, so if you want to use
Joey
that, you're welcome to.
Bones. Right. Thank you, Joey Bones. Joe Burrow coming back since week 2, I believe, week 3, really early on in the season, had a turf toe injury that sidelined him for a long time. Jake Browning wasn't working. They traded for Joe Flacco. He kind of helped their offense, but the Bengals were 3-8 coming into this game, so it's not exactly like they were a force to be reckoned with. Maybe Joe Burrow will make something happen. Technically, they're still in the playoff hunt. They're going against division opponent, the Ravens, who are winners of 5 straight coming into this, despite relative lackluster performance on offense. And I kind of thought this was going to be the nail in the coffin for the Bengals. Like the Ravens just kind of put them down. They could kind of coast to the end of the season. But that's not what happened, because the Bengals and Joe Burrow has 46 passes, of which he completed barely over half of them, managed to put up 32 points on the Ravens, mostly through the leg of Evan McPherson, one of the more reliable kickers in the league. Uh, but Joe Burrow did do enough to kind of get their offense in position. Jamar Chase had a ton of targets in this game, as he often does. And the Ravens just really couldn't get anything going on the other end. A defense that has been kind of clowned on all season, this Bengals crew. No Trey Hendrickson in this one. Still managed to just kind of shut them down. Lamar has looked relatively subpar for like 3 games in a row now, and their ground game couldn't really get going with Derrick Henry too much. And yeah, it was a lot of short possessions for the Ravens, and that is why Joe Burrow threw so much, despite them winning by almost 20 points. 46 pass attempts is obviously a ton. So it was really weird. It was a weird game that I didn't expect the result, the outcome of. And I was kind of like, oh, Joe's coming back to be a shootout. And that's not what we got at all. We got a blowout because the defense of like the worst defense in the league was really good. It was a strange result, strange end to the Thanksgiving slate.
This feels to me like probably a one game surprise for the Bengals. I think they're just a little too far out to come back in at this point, but definitely a really fun surprise that I'm sure the Steelers were very excited about. My general impression of the AFC North this year is like one bloodied team will emerge and then be slaughtered at the gates of true AFC contenders, but um, fun to have a reason to feel happy when thinking about the Bengals.
Yeah, I think it depends on who the bloody team is. I think if it's like the Steelers, they will get slaughtered. But I think if the Ravens kind of catch a stride in week 17, week 18, and really start going into gear, that would be a I don't know, because they're, I mean, division winner is automatically going to be a top 4 seed. So they're going to be a home field, obviously, in that first round. But I think if they're going against a really stout 5 or 6 seed, but it's the Ravens and they have momentum, it could be a good game. But yeah, otherwise, I totally agree that it's kind of like it's starting to feel like the NFC South over there.
Literally what I was about to say. Like, if the Buccaneers win the NFC South, could they steal a game? Yes, maybe, but I wouldn't necessarily bet on it. And the other teams, I don't know, although we'll talk about an NFC South team that is bizarrely capable of winning against anyone when they feel like it.
Right.
Yeah, I had the exact same thoughts. Any other observations on this game?
Not this game particularly. I thought Chase Brown had a relatively nice night and has had a nice last couple of weeks after a really mediocre start to the season.
Um, Nice. Yeah, he definitely slowed down after really popping off in his first year. So good to see
DJ
him get
Turner's
back.
awesome. That's their corner, their main corner. He's really good.
That's something to build around, which they certainly need on defense. So maybe we'll see them build around him. Speaking of building around, the Raiders could build around just about anywhere on their roster. They need all the help they can get. As the Chargers, my team for this week, rolled over the Raiders 31-14 after a surprisingly competitive first half. The Chargers just did more. Justin Herbert did have a break in his left hand that he's getting surgery on, but he was able to play through it. Well, he has now had that surgery at the time of recording. And the thing there is they're not expecting him to miss any time. He was able to come back in the game after Trey Lance filled in for a few plays. They mostly ran with Lance on the field.
Came in with this
The
big
big
glove
take,
on
yeah, he
to
had
like
his
cover in
big
his hand.
honking glove. My big takeaway, if I have to look at this from a Chargers perspective, the Raiders got a ton of pressure on them. I would say relative to expectations, the Raiders were able to blow up a number of plays, and the Chargers had a considerable amount of luck in this game. They in the first half, I believe they muffed and then recovered their own punt, or excuse me, recovered like the kickoff. They bobbled it and then they were able to fall on it. I believe there was another play with a fumble that they were successfully able to fall on, if I'm not mistaken. And then there was also they threw an interception in the red zone. The Raiders like picked it off and got the ball at the 8. And then Gino threw a pick right back. And it's one of my favorite plays in football that I wish we saw more. I believe it was Dante Jackson, their corner, who tipped the ball as it was going out of bounds without touching out of bounds so that the safety Tony Jefferson for the Chargers could recover the interception inbounds, which I think is some of the most fun football play when you volleyball the ball back in on a pick. Um, and so that was a nice play by the Chargers. But if one of those turnovers went the Raiders' way and they were able to score, the Chargers could have been down early. Instead, the Raiders admirably battled. Brock Bowers had an insane catch when this game was already out of hand, where the announcer was like, "Oh, and it's incomplete." Wait, no, it's not, because it looked like it had hit the ground, but he had scooped it so effectively. It didn't hit the ground, and he basically got one arm around it, pulled it into his body. It was awesome. Um, but the Chargers, I think their offensive line concerns remain. I think against a better team, and if any of those miscues don't go their way, it could be looking at a very different situation, game script, especially if that forces Herbert to pass more, because most of those miscues are in the first half. I think Kamani Vidal is a real weapon, and I think he has a future as like not necessarily a 1B to a Marion Hampton. I imagine Hampton probably has more overall talent, but Vidal has run really well for this Chargers team, and that helped them pull away a lot in this game. Got a lot out of, I believe, Jarrett Patterson was like their called up running back who was able to score in this game. They were able to just eventually run over the Raiders. I have to say, I am really sorry if you're a Raiders fan. I'm just so sorry.
It's like the fifth
They're,
time we've done that list for
I
this
know they're just
podcast.
so, Damon, they're so bad, and it's on offense really, where like
It's horrible, dude.
it's tough. I think this is the first time I truly watched them start to finish, and especially
I
for playing
tried
a
to tell
close
you.
first half. Golly, Ashton Genty, 15 carries, 31 yards, and 6 receptions for 30 yards. So 61 yards on 21 touches for your first round pick running back, who like half the plays he was had hands on him before he even reached the line of scrimmage. It was like just a bummer. What was their other win? Oh, over the Titans. That makes sense. They'd
Yeah,
beaten
you
the
just can't really
Titans,
do
and it
anything without an offensive line.
yeah, it's definitely a case in point, and I'll give Brock Bowers credit for not only leading me to a fantasy win over our very own Damon, but
It was me.
for being truly the lone bright spot. I mean, my first thought when I was watching their offense just sputter and stagnate was, I know why Jacoby Myers asked out. You know,
Yeah.
just a tough watch because they do have a couple pieces. I mean, their second round rookie receiver, Jack Bash, has barely seen the ball all season. I think they mentioned his first catch of the day was his ninth catch of the season.
Yep.
Oh boy. So Chargers, did I see enough to think that they're going to be like a playoff juggernaut? No. I think their offensive line has too many flaws for me to feel super confident in this team. Um, but they have a script, and if they're able to really keep the running game going with Vidal, and spread it around because they do have a group of talented pass catchers, I think anything's possible. I just think this team has too big of a weakness ultimately. That's too exploitable by like if the Chargers met Houston in the playoffs, night night, because that defensive
That
line.
that defense is whew, yeah.
Woo, yeah. I wouldn't want to face what I think in terms of like the eye test. Having watched some Broncos and some Texans, the Texans defense just feels different. So that is my take on Chargers Raiders. Any thoughts?
Yes, the Brock Bowers catch was awesome. I had Brock Bowers in my other league, so it was give and take for oh, Jared's killing me with him, and also I'm winning because of him, and I lost in that league, so it actually doesn't matter. And you know what the worst part is that I also have Drake May and Travion Henderson like you do, and I needed them to score a little more for me to win in the other league. So I just lost in both leagues because you beat me with them in our league, and then I lost them in the other league because I didn't score enough. Dumb, dumb, dumb.
That is tough.
Anyways,
That is tough.
that's
Yeah,
fantasy.
Bowers wasn't the difference for me in fantasy, but he definitely helped. And I would say I think a pretty airtight, not airtight, but a solid piece of fantasy advice I feel comfortable giving is to invest in one of the top two tight ends in the league early because you will win that slot most weeks in fantasy. That's just my opinion. Um,
Even when he's injured for 7 weeks or whatever.
okay, well those
Um,
7 weeks were difficult,
all
but even then I had Dalton Kincaid, who when he wasn't injured was okay. Um,
right.
yeah, I don't know. I think like you just get a lot of value out of one of the top two tight ends versus like hoping that the 10th tight end is elite most weeks, which just doesn't happen too often. With that
I feel
said,
like I feel like
sorry, go ahead.
Hampton is supposed to come back this week, and I feel like Vidal. I feel like I've heard his name pronounced 18 different ways. Um, will probably be back to like a change of pace role. I don't feel like this is going to be like you know, all right, you're the Rico Daddle of our team now. I feel like he's just going to go back to like Samaje P. Ryan. Congratulations.
I wouldn't be shocked to see him be the first and second down back, and they put Hampton out on third down for these first couple weeks of reacclimating him. But I certainly think Hampton, when he's at full go, will be their top running back. And having a two-headed monster at running back might be what this team needs to let the offensive line focus on being run first. With that
They,
said,
they had the Navy jerseys. I like those.
the Navy
Okay.
jerseys were rock solid. You know what else is rock solid? The ever shifting name for our pop and stop game segment, the games
Mm,
that popped and the games we wished would
hmm
stop.
hmm
Um,
hmm
there were games that had big playoff implications but were a little snoozy. Those are in the stop. There were games that didn't matter in the playoff standings but had fun, electric finishes. Those are in the pop. It's all about what was good
Yeah.
ball to
What what's our
watch.
what's our new what's our name this time? What's our go-to for the week?
Um, okay, well, it's like the first week of December.
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to think of like mistletoe and please God no. That feels a little extreme.
Holiday and
Did
Holiday.
you say
Um,
holiday and holiday or holiday and
I said
holiday?
Holiday and Holiday, but
I
it
like
doesn't
that.
really matter.
We'll shorten that to our yay games and nay games of the week. But
Right, right.
I
It's really
I like
just
the
yay and
shape.
nay.
Yeah, it's really just yay,
It's
but
actually
there's a
not
holla
creative at
in
all.
front. These are our
Yeah.
yay games. Holla. Anyway, let's start with what I think many would consider an upset on Thanksgiving Day. We already went over the Bengals Ravens shocking result, but it was the destruction of the AFC Super Bowl representative at the hands of unlikely risers, the Cowboys 31 over the Chiefs 28. Damon, take us through this game.
I will take you through this game. The Dallas Cowboys play good offensive football, apparently, especially when Dak Prescott is their quarterback. We went over the crazy the crazy stat over their home divisional games, right? Last week, like 18-1 or something like that. Guess what? Thursday football is basically the same thing. The Cowboys often win on Thursday football. Not good for this upcoming week, but that is a stat as well as they played the Chiefs here on Thanksgiving. A back and forth affair in which the Cowboys really just couldn't be stopped despite the Chiefs. I think reputationally with Spagnuolo, they have the defense right, but George Pickens been on a tear, continued that this week. Javonte Williams was fine. Everything was fine. They just kind of cruised on offense and held the Chiefs at bay enough on defense to survive and pull out the win.
Yeah, I wonder whether there's a ceiling to the Chiefs offense this season where teams that can outgun them, they can't necessarily keep up to the same extent. A relatively costly loss for the Chiefs. It's out of conference, so it's not super big in that way, but the Chiefs aren't in a position to lose a ton of games and keep their head above water. So Definitely an impactful result that keeps the Cowboys in the playoff race. A team I think we both believed, I know I personally believed was not going to be competitive this year. Suddenly looking like they could deal a heavy blow to their Thursday night opponents' chances of even making the playoffs. But we'll get to that when it comes. Um, Anything else about these two ball clubs, or would you like to move on?
These two ball clubs, as you say, are pretty lower in my Damon likes them standings. But the one I like the least lost. Yes, that's how I would say that. So that's good for me, and they are way out of the playoffs right now, which is also good for me.
Yes, we're going to go over playoff standings once we get through the slate of games here. So hold on to your hats. This was a full week of games. So we've got 16 contests, three in the hopper, 13 to go. And next up is a game with crucial playoff implications for both teams. The Colts starting the season as the most unexpected dominator, leading the AFC for much of the league's first quarter. And the Texans, meanwhile, coming out looking soft, offense discombobulated. Is Davis Mills better than CJ Stroud? Well, today, by today, I mean Sunday, the tables turn. The Texans score 20, the Colts only 16 in Indianapolis, as the Texans claw their way back into the conversation for this division and for an AFC playoff spot. Colts suffered a blow. Their corner, Sauce Gardner, who they traded two first round picks for, exited with a calf injury and is expected to miss some time. I personally did go back and watch this game. Jonathan Taylor was relatively bottled up. I kind of mistracked who had missed the extra point, but the Colts had missed an extra point, hence the 16. I probably could have figured that out if I was
Michael
thinking harder.
Badgley.
Michael Badgley now released.
Yep.
Now released, former Lion. Difficult for him, obviously, because that means the Colts have to score a touchdown late in the game. The Texans up 20. The Colts were able to get into field goal range, but had to push to the end zone and are unfortunately unable to complete the drive in a very back and forth game that the Texans were able to control with some swarming defense. Jonathan Taylor had a nice run, but otherwise, really looking lockdown. Nico Collins looks elite. Credit to Colts receivers Alec Pierce and Josh Downs. They both dominated respective drives, and that helped keep the Colts in this game for sure. They really owned Pierce owned the second quarter, and then Downs had this like entire drive in the third quarter that he just put the team on his back. But I think the Nico Collins connection creates enough offense for Houston when he's dominating to leave the Colts in the dust, and they have a nice crop of receivers behind Collins who can contribute one or two nice plays a game, guys like Xavier Hutchinson, and a nice tight end room as well. So this is a nice formula for the Texans, a crucial in-division win for the Texans, and I think they could make some noise if they hit the playoffs just because this defense looks like a force.
Yeah, the defense is definitely a force, and I think that, part of the thing that with their defense in this particular game is I think the Colts with Jonathan Taylor obviously like to establish the ground game early and often, and then they will use the aforementioned Alec Pierce is probably the primary one, but Josh Downs to an extent. Michael Pittman also exists somewhere in there to kind of stretch the field and take deep shots. And you can't do that when your quarterback is hit 2 seconds after he snaps the ball,
Yep.
or you can't. They don't think it's a run because you keep bottling the run up. So it's hard to space the field in that way, and then you kind of get into, I think, predictable offense because you need plays that are going to get the ball out quick, like slants and things like that. So I feel like that's kind of the formula for the Texans is limit the other team's options. And I think, Daniel Jones, great season as he had. I don't think anyone would call him the, highest IQ or like, flexible, versatile quarterback to do a bunch of different things. So they kind of limit him to one thing, and then 16 points is the result.
Yeah. Downs specifically had to make some big boy catches to keep the Colts competing in this game. There was a really awkward fourth down conversion attempt by the Colts as well, where they lined up Tyler Warren to run the tush push. He totally fumbled that snap. It pops into Jonathan Taylor's hands and he gets stuffed. So a crucial miscue that costs them points. If they opt for the field goal there or they convert deep in the red zone, they might not be in a position where they have to go for the touchdown late in the game. Um, Apparently, Daniel Jones coming into the game with a bit of an injury that would keep him from being the push guy, per the broadcasters. But either way, things are looking a little tenuous for the Colts. I think they probably have enough of a resume at this point where they would really have to bottom out to leave the playoff conversation. But definitely they can't afford to keep backsliding as they have, um, dropping a few in a row.
They
They
have,
need to get back on track.
I believe, another game against the Texans and two games against the Jags still on the slate this season.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of division contests have been bunched to the end. I know the Packers and Bears will play each other twice, and that should make for exciting television as well. And television I'll be watching with bated breath. Speaking of bated breath, take us through this close next contest here.
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor and Kirk Cousins, huh? Remember those guys? They led an interesting Jets and Falcons offense, respectively, to a close contest, like you said. And who would have thought A.D. Mitchell emerges as a hero in this game? Just a throw in for the Sauce trade, and he had like 100 yards, 12 targets, 8 catches, touchdown. Totally vertically spacing, like I said, the Colts like to do. He is capable of that. Very fast guy, obviously. And the Falcons secondary just couldn't really contain him. He also got, I think, a pretty crucial DPI drawn on AJ Terrell at some point in this game that really helped them on that particular drive, from what I remember. But yeah, it was, Tyrod Taylor able to pass the ball, which I like Justin Fields. I think we both like Justin Fields. He is shown not super capable of that as of late. So that gives their offense a little more options. I think the Falcons, on the other hand, were pretty limited with just Bijan doing most of the work in this game. He had 100 plus yards for sure and a touchdown as well. No Drake London, of course, on their end. So not a lot of targets. Darnell Mooney is like really the only kind of guy, and then it's kind of a bunch of relatively low profile guys behind him, and Kirk Cousins, of course, is old. So I think their offense again was pretty one sided, and the Jets had enough in the tank to pull out a win for two teams that are they're just ready for the offseason to figure out what's going on. But they made an entertaining game.
Yeah, I think any win for Glenn as head coach is good morale building and good. It's going to help him build that case to kind of stick around in the next couple of years. Do you feel like he coached this game particularly well, or was this like an individual performances type deal?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes to coaching well when you have newer guys like an AD Mitchell, who is basically a write-off for the Colts, and have him build up. You can see if you look, he's kind of built up his use over the weeks as he gets acclimated to the system. For me, that's like talent recognition. How do I get this guy involved in the lineup? That sort of thing, which I think is important. And I think, 24 points is not a low amount, but I mean, I think I, going into this game as a defensive person, would be like, guys, we probably are going to need to stop Bijan Robinson, and that's really all that matters. And they didn't do that at all,
Yeah.
but they probably tried. So I feel like, utilizing the little pieces they do have in an effective way is, part due to coaching as well.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I'm kind of rooting for Glenn, obviously. I think the
Of
Falcons
course.
are in one of the weirder positions heading into the offseason with Penix. I don't know if they can get out of Cousins' contract. I believe he has a pretty easy financial out after this year, but is Penix the guy? Is he not? Really strange.
We
Not
were
as
so confused
strange.
on who the Falcons were for so long, and now we know they just aren't very good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're talking about confusing teams because there is no other way to describe this
Yeah.
next result. Um, Carolina hosting a game against who I would argue most people you'd ask who's the best team in the NFL right now. It's going to be Los Angeles Rams. It is a rainy day, especially second half, as far as I noticed. Matthew Stafford coming in electric and red hot, but somehow Bryce Young and the Panthers find a way, winning a hotly contested back and forth game, 31 to 28, on top of a swarming turnover laden defense and some really gutsy play calls and plays by Bryce Young and his receivers. Despite the loss, Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford has thrown an NFL record 28 straight passing touchdowns without an interception. I saw that one on my phone earlier. I'm sorry. I know you wanted it to be trivia. Um,
Rats.
Even so, he, after getting an initial touchdown to Devontae Adams, threw two interceptions, including a pick six in the first half, and then to end this game, fumbled the ball, allowing Carolina to recover and then rumble their way to a massively unlikely win, holding on to their 3 point lead with 2 minutes and change to go. They're able to drain the clock. So, um, this was a really awesome game by the Panthers. They lost last week, so they were due for a win, and here it is.
Here it is against, like you said, probably the heavy favorite, who was the number one seed in the NFC no longer, Los Angeles Rams. Did we talk about their corner room?
No, please go ahead.
So they claimed this was after the game. They claimed former corner Darian Kendrick. He was released by Seattle. He used to be a Ram. Now he's back on the Rams. Yay. They placed corner Roger McCreary on IR, and then Kello Weatherspoon has been out since week two. It did come back to this game, but they have been without him for a long time. So really the biggest hole in their defense right now, their secondary. Maybe this will help down the stretch. Seems like a playoff signing for a guy that knows your system, probably, because their guys have kind of been in place over there for a little bit now. Um, yeah, such a weird day. Another weird day for Bryce Young, where he goes, a couple weeks ago he threw for like 450 yards, and then last week he threw for like 90 yards, and then he had another really good game here. And it wasn't even like the Rico Dowdle show or anything like that. It was kind of just a all-around performance. And then of course you mentioned the defense as well playing their part, which is exciting because I think this team is one that a lot of people, I know both of us do, kind of root for as an underdog, and nice to see them have a win over a real opponent because they have beat a lot of subpar opponents, and then they have also beat or lost to some subpar opponents. So nice to see them win a real game.
Yeah, part of me wonders whether it's the fact that we're so used to rooting for an underdog in the Lions that there is like an empathy and a familiarity to pulling for a team that is kind of on the cusp but hasn't really fully found its footing yet. But definitely gratifying for those of us, sort of like silent Panthers supporters. All of us rise up, comment your secret love for the Panthers and Jalen Coker. Um, I
Oh,
do just want to give the
nice.
thank you, thank you. Well, Coker had a big play in this game. A couple, they were giving him a lot of prop on the broadcast as well. Drew Brees thought he might be the secret weapon for this game. Apparently, as he said, as they essentially won the game with Jalen Coker. Yeah, they had
Tyrone
two
McMillan
fourth,
caught a game-winning touchdown, and that was the only catch he had.
and it was on fourth down. They had two fourth down catches become touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. The Panthers all out balled out, and it was really satisfying to watch. It's definitely the kind of game that a team that's a little lower in talent level needs to make. That said, Puka Nacua, to his credit, had one of the most insane catches I've ever seen.
Yeah, that
Um,
was wild.
he had his
It's
arm
crazy.
full extended, straight vertical, hooks the ball around the defender's arm into his chest, and brings the ball down. With the Rams driving, with the potential to take the lead in this game, and obviously the Stafford fumble on 3rd and 10 prevents them from even tying it. But it was a great, great, great catch. Yeah, really satisfied by this game. Can you get us through the battle of the red teams that is up next year?
The Battle of the Red Team. Sure. The Buccaneers 20 at home against the Cardinals 17. They have officially fallen out of the playoff picture as well. I'm not sure if that was before or after this week, but they're not there regardless. I think it was before this week. They were already out. Um, Running back Trey Benson, guard Will Hernandez, and rookie defensive tackle Walter Nolan all inactive for the Cardinals on this one. Trey Benson was activated to practice last week, did not show up to this game. Still Bam Knight as the primary guy there. And then for the Bucks, Baker Mayfield played, which was shocking because he left last week. Talked about this last time. Arm in a sling, had an AC joint sprain in his shoulder, which for someone who follows the NBA, that sidelines an NBA player for weeks. But not Baker. He stuck it out, and their running back did return. Bucky Irving been out since week 4. It has been kind of Rashad White and Sean Tucker, and he came back and immediately stole the show. I think White and Tucker combined for 4 touches, and it was Irving the rest of the way, and he looked pretty good. And I think he will be pretty important for them down the stretch here. Chris Godwin looked relatively alive, which was nice to see. I was happy. He came back last week and did not look so good, so I was happy to see that he is boosted this week. Egbuka looked relatively pedestrian, especially considering his hot start early in the season. Still no Mike Evans there. Um, and yeah, 20 points against this Cardinals team is not great. It's enough to get a win here, sure, but it is not a good look for a team that obviously has postseason aspirations. Jacoby Brissett for the Cardinals threw the ball 100 times again, like he has done pretty much every week he's been the starter. Marvin Harrison came back from his appendectomy surgery. He did play, but he had like an ankle injury in this game that is leaving him questionable for this week. He and Michael Wilson kind of split the catches after Michael Wilson had 2 giant weeks without him. But yeah, it was it was close throughout. It was entertaining, relatively speaking, because no team really ever pulled away. And this is kind of the Bucks early on this season, right? When they did have their full arrangement of guys, is winning a lot of games barely. And it seems like they're getting right back to that as their players return from injury. So still not convincing me yet, but a win is a win.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals are just a little too talented to be quite um this miserable. So I think
Yet they do it every
unfortunately
week.
they do it every week. I would really expect um and I swear they went 2-0, right? And then have just been 1-9 the rest of the way.
They've been
Um
really bad for a while, yeah.
I think this team will be an opening, and I think honestly with some of the talent on the roster, I think this could be a more attractive opening in terms of coaching than people might expect, just because I think they have a number of solid defensive pieces, maybe a little overpaid, but
Hmm.
I think Marvin Harrison's a legit talent. You're getting a lot out of secondary guys like Michael Wilson. I just um, I wonder how. I mean, I guess there's a chance they keep Gannon. He has not made anything out of this team 3 years running now. So. Yeah, I think the Cardinals are a team a little like the Panthers, where especially my grandparents grew up in Arizona, so I always had like a bit of an eye on them.
Hmm.
We'll see. We'll see how they do. Or I visited my grandparents while growing up, and they lived in Arizona. I might have said that wrong. Anyway, uh, Sunday night football is our last pop game of the week before we rush through the first 2 stop games, as they're too painful for me to linger on. This was a close, in fact, overtime contest between the Broncos and the Marcus Mariota led Commanders in Washington. This was an absolute battle that came down to a 2-point attempt by Washington that failed, per my understanding here.
Batted
Um,
down, I believe.
yes, you're right. My girlfriend's a big fan of That's Good Sports. I don't know if you're familiar with that YouTube channel, but he's a Broncos fan, so he recaps every Broncos game, and she had that on. So,
Mm.
um, yes, it was. I believe Benito got his hand on Marcus
Yes,
Mariota's
yes,
pass
Benito. Yeah, yeah,
attempt.
yeah.
And a lot of credit to Mariota, who's been, for the most part, a pretty solid backup for the Commanders. But the Broncos, once again, sneaking away. And the gentleman responsible for the winning point, Broncos kicker Will Lutz, has signed a 3-year, $16.1 million extension with $9 million guaranteed and a $5.2 million signing bonus, making him among the league's highest paid kickers. Was previously in New Orleans. No surprise to see Sean Payton link back up with Lutz.
Yeah, we talked a couple of times this season about how important kickers are. I know we briefly mentioned the Michael Badgley waiving earlier from the Colts after their kicker Spencer Schrader went down early on this season. Having that guy is super reliable because then you don't get into situations like this where you lose by 1 point in overtime because you probably had some reliable kicking up until that point. Now, granted, the Commanders decided to go for the win rather than the tie, so It is not necessarily like a kicker issue in that particular example, but plenty of times this season we've seen teams lose by a missed field goal, et cetera, et cetera. So good kickers are important.
Uh, yeah, no doubt. Jake Moody for the Commanders was perfect in this game, but he had actually previously been released from the Niners this
Yeah,
season. So,
for the
um,
same issue.
I did not see this trivia question. The Broncos trivia here. Set up the question. I'll give you the right answer.
I will set up the question. So the Broncos, winners of nine straight, of course, at 10-2 in the AFC. In their last four contests, their last four games, they have won by a total of how many combined points?
I'm gonna guess 8 points.
It's a great guess. It's 10 points. So
Good
you're
Lord.
not far off. A lot of close contest for a team that I think a lot of people are like, these are the guys, and maybe they are the guys. Everyone knows the defense is legit. Um, but again, Commanders without Jaden Daniels, who are 3-8 going into this, I believe. I want you to beat them a little better than than 1 point in overtime.
I think it was Heed the Call that called them the AFC's Bears or the Bears of the NFC's Broncos, and that really has, for the most part,
Yeah.
rung true this season. We'll talk about the Bears as we roll into our stop or this week nay games, and I'm going to take this first one real quick if you don't mind, so I can speed through it. First game
Uh,
of the week, Thanksgiving morning,
please.
Packers 31 at Lions 24. It was announced earlier in the week that Lions center Frank Ragnow, former Pro Bowler, would return to the team, but then later in the week was revealed that his physical showed a grade 3 hamstring strain, which would keep him out for the rest of the season. So he will not return due to his failed physical. They still hold his contract as he retired with the team. During this game, Amon-Ra St. Brown exited very early enough to give him 0 fantasy points in your matchup against me. With a
Yep.
sprained ankle, he is likely to miss some time, though it seems possible he may return for Thursday's game against the Cowboys. And then Lions corner Terrion Arnold was placed on IR season ending due to an injury to his shoulder. He is receiving surgery on that injury. So the Lions are banged up, missing their top two tight ends, two of their top three interior offensive linemen, their top wide receiver, their top safety. They lose one of their top two corners. Um, not making excuses, just giving reasons to be skeptical that the Lions can suddenly turn it on. I will give them this. They had a really nice offensive showing considering the pieces they were missing. Micah Parsons making absolute hay, especially with those backup interior offensive linemen, center Tristan Cologne, I believe, and then guard Coyote Awoshika stepping in. Parsons was a menace. Love was good enough. The deep passing against the Lions has been effective. First against the Giants, now against the Packers. Lions hung around in this game. They had a few opportunities to bring it to a tie, a crucial 4th and 1 popping off of Jameson Williams' hands. Not necessarily fully his fault on the play, but a really tough moment. Admirable offensive performance. Shout out Tom Kennedy, who is our practice squad hero, who's been on our practice squad for probably the last 8 years, 9 years, since before time. And he played and caught some balls in this game. The defense needs to find its way again. They were the strength of this team early. They have lost their way of late. And with the Lions offense doing its best to show some life, even with its injuries, it's difficult to win games without the defense. So the Lions are in a position now. I was reading Pride of Detroit's playoff prognostication, and they said probably need 4-1. And we have the
Yeah.
Rams coming up. We have the Bears coming up. We have the Cowboys this week. It's a tough slate. Excuse me. I'm not crying. I just am coughing. Um, and hard not to be a little bit pessimistic. I'll always root for my Lions till the end. Um, I have been doom scrolling the comments about this team. I think that regardless of whether this season ends in miracle or ends in defeat, there are some choices made by the front office that they'll need to reevaluate. So be it. Tough loss. Good to see the offense had some life. If both sides of the ball can put it together, I think this can still be a really good team, and it needs to start this week if they want a chance to see the postseason.
Yeah, I think everything you said is great. Well, not great, but true, I guess I should say. Um, just a really tough week. It's been a tough couple weeks for us, and yeah, well, we'll look at the playoff picture later. On the outside looking in right now, for sure, with two divisional opponents above us, so it's going to be a tough sledding down the stretch. Luckily for us, those divisional opponents do play each other twice, so that should help regardless of the outcome. And we got to do our job on the other end. Yeah, Amon-Ra 0 points in our fantasy matchup. Not the reason I lost. A lot of my team did pretty subpar, but certainly didn't help.
Yeah, that was Packers at Lions, but hey, at least the Eagles could maybe help the Lions out with a win over the Bears, right? Damon, take us through Black Friday football prime.
Black
Bum, ba-da-bum,
Friday,
ba-da-bum,
where
bum.
I'm so confident that the division NFC number one seed, not number one seed, that was the Rams, the division leading NFC East Eagles against the NFC North division leading Bears. I think I said last week in our preview, these are two teams that I'm skeptical about both of their victories, and one of them needs to prove me wrong, and maybe it was the wrong team because the Bears end up on top here with 24 against the Eagles 15. What did help the Bears, they got two defensive backs back, Jalen Johnson, all pro formerly, and Kyler Gordon, both activated for this game. That really helped them out in their secondary. Um, and it showed because the Eagles couldn't do anything on offense, which has been a story that we've talked about all season long. Their banged up offensive line, their run game not really working. Everybody kind of gets the tush push. The problem with the tush push is you got to be at the 1 yard line or up to get 1 yard, and they can't get the 9 yards to need to get the 1 yard because they can't run the ball and they can't really pass the ball that well either. Because the offensive line issues mostly. So it's been tough sledding for them. They looked again sloppy in this one. Um, I had Saquon in our matchup. He did not a lot. So yay. And Caleb Williams, I think, the kind of Hail Mary approach to his game of I got to win it all with all these big plays. I think this season we're getting more of the winning aspect of that than last season, where it was like, I'm doing this insane play. Oh, I threw an interception. This season, it feels a little more like those are going in his favor. Will that keep lasting? I'm not sure. Shout out again, legend, Rutgers legend, Kyle Monangai, who I've shouted out before, because I used him in college football 25. And he had like 22 carries in this game. They ran all over the Eagles. Him and DeAndre Swift. They had like 40 combined carries. It was ridiculous.
Wow. Um, did you bring up what happened to the Eagles OC? Did I miss that in my vague
I
reverie?
did not bring that up. I was mostly focusing on the game. But why don't you tell us, Jared? Tell us what happened to this poor man.
Yeah, this is, I would say, the unethical ball action of the week.
For
Eagles
sure, for sure.
offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo had his home vandalized with eggs early Saturday morning after the Friday loss. Hey,
Yep.
that's like chump behavior. Like, it's just not winning behavior as a human being. Dan Campbell had his address doxed a
Hmm.
couple years into being the coach. I think it was after the NFC Championship loss by one of his daughter's like high school friends. Um, it's just childish and gross. I think people forget that these people deserve to feel secure in their own home. And yeah, you just threw eggs. I get that that's not really like gonna ruin his day or, sorry, like that isn't a threat to his safety, but it shows that people are aware of where he lives. It makes a news story out of where he lives. And that could draw unwanted attention, especially the last 2 seasons. There have been a lot of robberies at players' homes. I feel like it would not be a stretch to imagine a coach's home being robbed as well. This is disgusting. These people owe you nothing, and they decide to be accountable to the fans, and it's a beautiful thing. Don't throw things at them. It's very moronic.
Good take. Good take by Jared. I like that from you.
Pretty easy W.
Uh,
Pretty easy to be on the right side of throwing eggs at someone's house. Did you mention the impact of the Bears DBs here?
I did mention the impact of the Bears DBs, man. You really just were not listening to anything that I said.
Well, I have a really fun trivia question as a result. I was doing some digging
Oh
on something,
no.
and now I have a good trivia for you. We're gonna get
Oh
to it
God, I'm gonna
in
get
our
it
next
so
segment.
incorrect. Yeah. Since I always do the like ethical baller of the week, with my NFLPA thing, we'll give you the unethical baller of the week. You can be the negative guy. So, whoever egged the house, unethical baller of the week.
Yeah, I was gonna say ethical
Jared's
cop,
unethical
unethical
baller of the
cop,
week.
but that's yeah. Ethical cop, unethical cop just feels a little loaded. So, we'll instead move on to a game loaded with a lack of playoff implications. This was the
Wait, did
electrostatic
you
matchup.
need to do your trivia now or no?
No, it's a later thing.
Okay,
We'll get
okay.
to it. It has to deal with the playoffs, so we'll get there.
Got it, got it, got it, got it,
Um,
got it.
Okay, when we were going through the games last week, and I was looking at the matchups that could possibly be worse than Raiders Chargers, which super bummed me out. This one jumped off the tape. This was Dolphins Saints. The Dolphins won this game 21 to 17. Good for Mike McDaniel's squad for fighting
Uh,
for him. I think he might be playing his getting his team to play his way back into a job. What do you think?
well, they kind of said we're going to stick with them for at least the season, and I can't imagine why you would say that and then immediately fire him after the season. So I feel like unless he does something abysmal, he's going to be there next season. And I wanted to also mention, like, I know this is a 4-point game. It really wasn't close until garbage time. The Dolphins took charge early. They were up like 10-0, 13-0. Never really looked back, so that's how it fell here.
Um, Yeah, the Saints did not have Alvin Kamara, who was ruled inactive from a knee injury he sustained last week. Not to call you out, but you wrote Alvin Karama, and that's kind of funny.
That sounds like me.
It was a classic Alvin Karama situation. Um, anyway,
Excellent.
that just made me laugh. But yeah, the Dolphins have more wins than the Bengals right now, and I don't think anyone could have predicted that.
You
And
were
are
really low
actually
on both of those squads going into the season. Actually,
well.
maybe you were higher on the Dolphins than the Bengals.
I feel like I banged I think the Dolphins and Colts were my two like most reviled teams. I'll see if I can find my thing right now, but reviled is strong, but I was not a
Yeah.
fan of their whole product. Um either way. Let's move on to this next one here as we keep
While
rolling
you
through.
search for the Dolphins Bengals record to tell who you were more negative upon. Granted, I think the Bengals had more expectations, so even if they have a better record, doesn't necessarily mean you weren't as negative. Anyways, another stop game, another nay game, whatever we're calling this. 49ers 26 at Browns 8. 8 is not great. Thought it was interesting that they signed former veteran linebacker Eric Kendricks to the practice squad the 49ers did prior to this game. Of course, we've talked about the Fred Warner injury and other injuries they've suffered throughout the season. Eric Kendricks, I remember from his Viking days as a Lions fan, bringing a menace, so to speak, but it's been a while, so we'll see if he gets any run. Um, and Brown's defensive tackle Malik Collins suffered a quad injury that will require surgery. He is done for the season, unfortunately, for a very stout Browns defensive line that had another good game despite, losing as they often do because their offense can't do anything. With that being said, Shedeur Sanders has already been announced as the starter this upcoming week. Like immediately after the game, they were like, "Yep, he's going to start again." After putting up a whopping 8 points against a pretty banged up 49ers defense. Christian McCaffrey ruled the day as he often does for this squad, and yeah, I mean, pretty expected result here.
Did you say McCaffrey ruled the day?
Rude. I said rude. I don't know why I said rude.
Yeah, that would he would be cursing the day. I learned that from
Yeah,
iCarly.
yeah. I
Um,
don't know what. Like that's what came to mind, and I was like, yeah, let's go with that.
uh, Yeah, I don't know. Maybe CMC made Shedeur Sanders rue the day he ever dared usurp Dylan Gabriel.
There.
Um,
Oh, there you go.
there it is. It all comes together, baby. All comes together, baby. Yeah, no, I'm looking at Shadeur's stats right now. He did not light up the scoreboard. I mean, it looks like the game plan
What?
must have been pretty conservative here. Actually had a higher passer rating than Brock Purdy, 1-to-1 trade. Uh, they actually had really similar stat lines. In
I feel
fact,
like Brock
Shador
Purdy
had a
has
higher
not
completion
looked great
percentage.
since he came back.
Oh, Dylan Gabriel did have one completion in this game for 0 yards. So epic
He's
must
back,
have
baby. He's always.
he's back. You can't keep old Dylan G down. Miles Garrett had another sack in this game. He inches closer and closer to breaking the single season record. Super exciting, a great player. And I think that'd be nice for Browns fans to have that. I think they would appreciate it.
That and only that. That's all you get this season if you're a Browns fan.
The fact that he's already at 19 sacks is insane.
It's wild. He's wild. Remember when he
What
beat
a
Mason Rudolph with the helmet? That was awesome.
that that's another unethical narrative, right?
It's
I feel like
the narrative is unethical. At first, I was like, Miles, why would you do that? And then I learned why, and I was like, okay.
um yeah, that was a real reverse Mark Sanchez. Where you're like,
Yeah, yeah,
Miles,
exactly.
no, and then you hear what he said, and you're like, thanks, Miles.
Epic.
Epic win. Okay. Let's move on here. Jaguars at Titans. I want the Titans to do well, as regular listeners know. They did not do well. They were playing in
Correct,
Tennessee
correct.
and got absolutely walloped 25 to
I'll
3.
throw in gobsmacked. I think that works too.
Yeah, I is mollywopped? Is that something?
That's great. Yeah, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was trying
Mollywopped
to
is
think of it and I
crazy.
couldn't get there, so I just went with wallop, but I was like, I know there's something there. Yeah, Jaguars comfortably won. Unfortunately, the division they're in has just gotten more and more uncomfortable with the fact that while the Colts have come down to earth, the Texans have looked much more competitive. Yes, they beat up on the Titans, but I think they're still I personally did not get eyes on this game, but I don't really trust the Jaguars very much, to be quite honest. I think that they occasionally win big and then occasionally absolutely slip on a banana peel. Um, and I think I'm more on the Falcons side of believing in them than the Panthers. Um,
Mm.
although
Yeah, yeah.
I they are somehow apparently this skipped my
Atop.
attention. They're
They're
leading the
atop the
AFC South right
South.
now.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
what's going on, man? That's crazy.
They sure are. And that one guy that commented on our video when we said they were going to do poorly in the preseason standings commented yet again and said, "I hope you're ready to pay me." And I said, "If you think I have $1,000, you're wrong because I don't. I
Yeah.
sure don't have $1,000."
Yeah, I mean, hey, for all I just said about the Jags being wishy-washy, this could be I mean, the AFC South, I think that there are two teams who could come out of the AFC South and make some true noise, and I don't think either of those teams are Jacksonville. Um, it's also
Hmm.
fair to say that they are tied for the lead with the Colts, and the Texans are one game back.
Right.
I certainly don't think the Jaguars are particularly comfortable at the top of this division, and I would expect if they have any more matchups with the Texans loading, um, that would have the potential to shake up this division for good. I'm just going to check super quickly what their schedule looks
Brian
like.
Thomas Jr. came back. So naturally,
Um,
Jacoby Myers had 6 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown.
It would be
Naturally.
pretty funny if the Jaguars handled the Colts both times they play them just to lose to the Titans in the last game of the year. Um, yeah, the Jags actually have a pretty nice schedule ahead of them. They have two against the Colts, which could go either way. It looks like right now they have one against the Jets and the Titans. Those feel pretty confident. And then they play the Broncos as well, which the Broncos will find a way to win by half a point. So, um, there's certainly a path. Colts definitely have more difficult schedule coming up. So, yeah, it's going to be a really interesting finish in the AFC South for the first time in a long time. Normally a snoozer division, but three teams worth chatting about. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Um,
yeah, you take
did
the
you watch
next
this
one.
next game? Because I did.
Uh,
And by golly, was it horrible to watch?
I didn't. I took a Sunday off and then I looked at all the games that were worth watching and I was like, okay, Panthers Rams feels consequential. Colts Texans feels really consequential. This game did not rise to the level of attention for me.
Well, that could be because the Seahawks had 26 and the Vikings had 0. 0, scoreless, nil, nada, zilch, whatever you want to say. God, it was awful. JJ McCarthy was out for this game with a concussion, so undrafted free agent Max Brosmer got his first start. Oh, it was horrible. Just horrible. Awful, awful, awful. 4 picks in this game. One of which, by the way, is an awesome clip. You have to look up this clip. They're on the goal line, and it's fourth down. Not on the goal line. I'm sorry. They're in the red zone, probably on like the 10-yard line or something. It's 4th and 1 or something like that, and Max Brosman rolls out, and he's clearly getting pressured. He's gonna get sacked. They're gonna turn the ball over on downs. Oh no, that's bad, right? So what he does is like as he's falling, he kind of like like just tosses it. You know, he's just like, somebody please catch the ball. And somebody did catch the ball. The issue is that it was a Seahawks defender who ran it all the way back for a touchdown. Um,
I've got the clip right here. I'm watching in real
it's
time. He
yeah,
rolls
yeah,
back
yeah.
about 20 yards, pitches it
For
at random, and gives away 7 free points in a game that, by the way, with 3 minutes left in the second quarter, was somehow only 3-0. So
yeah,
if he had just not done that, um,
that's really what it was like.
golly.
There's no chance in this game.
Sorry, I
Just
had the ad playing in my ears. Yeah, it was a real I think to me, like my conspiracy theory is they let Brosmer play so that we all felt better about JJ. But
oh,
uh,
fair.
I don't know. I just that is
Yeah,
rough.
Carson
I'm
Wentz
so
goes out, and
sorry.
it's like, man, you got no one else on this team when your quarterback is out. That's not looking good. You know, what's Easton Stick doing? You know, what is some is Colt McCoy still alive? Does you want to play football again?
The Sam Howell trade aging like milk.
Not looking too good. They just didn't want two Sams at the same time. I understand. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, it was tough. It was a tough watch. Justin Jefferson probably also thought it was a tough watch. 2 catches for 4 yards, career low, I believe. Um, Exited the game without doing media, so that's a sign of not good things, probably. And ultimately, a pretty lost season for this squad, and a lost season almost for wide receiver Adam Thielen, who signed back with this team, um, or was traded to this team. I don't remember before the season. And he said, "Please get me out of here so I can go somewhere to compete for my last season." Because he said it's going to be his last season. He wants to compete. He wants to be on a team that's going to make a playoff push. And that's not really what's going to happen because I know the team that picked him up, and it's one of the next teams we're going to talk about. Um, but it's tough. It's tough look for
Yeah.
this
I
squad.
was gonna say maybe the Jags look in that direction. Offensive line Walker Little and then wide receiver Parker Washington both injured in their game. I think I failed to mention that. But
Hmm.
you're right. Now that I think about it, yeah, Thielen's already found another home. So, um, yeah, Viking season is done. They're in an interesting position franchise wise because JJ has not shown anything saying he could be the answer. Um, but they're a team that is built as though he is. So, really interesting for them. Yeah, shocked that this game wasn't more interesting with the undrafted free agent QB. I had hope maybe he could be something.
I
He
thought
cannot
the
be something.
defense was going to be interesting, and they kind of were. I mean, like you mentioned, 3-0 about to be going into half before that horrible pick six. So even like JSN didn't have a good game. His little streak that I had been talking about broke.
Wow.
Um, so their defense gave him a shot, and their offense just gave them nothing.
Only so much you can do when you hand over 4 turnovers. Speaking of turnovers, over the weekend, just like all of these games, we saw that was a great transition. We saw the Bills travel to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers. The Bills have been up and down this season, unsure of what they could be. The Steelers have had some nice wins, but definitely have looked suspect against better competition. Is this where Steel City rises up to wrest the division from the Ravens, or at least give themselves a chance? It's not. Bills 26, Steelers 7. It's like Seahawks Vikings with an extra score. Um, this is a nice win for the Bills, who probably at this point are playing for the 5 seed, and I imagine have the inside track on that seed.
Yeah, I would imagine so. It is time for Damon's ethical baller of the week, of course.
Let's
Another
go.
Bills player, corner Christian Benford, Week 13 NFL PA Community MVP after hosting a Thanksgiving celebration that provided a meal and a winter essentials kit. Of course, Buffalo, very snowy during this time of year, harsh weather up there, for 300 families at the community missions of Niagara Frontier. So that's a lot of people that he partnered with an organization to help give both food and things that families will need in order to, I imagine, prepare their house and stuff like that as the cold and snow and freeze and all that comes through. So very cool by him. Another Bills player was Deion Dawkins a couple weeks ago. So cool guys on that team, I suppose.
Yeah, much love for that. I think that's a really sweet and considerate, and also like I like when acts of generosity are very do a very good job of meeting the direct needs of communities. Sometimes charity efforts are a little more not for show and not illegitimate, certainly, but don't as directly address like pressing needs, and that feels very accurate to what the needs of that community will be. Speaking of Deion Dawkins, by the way, he was inactive for this game alongside right tackle Spencer Brown, tight end Dalton Kincaid, wide receiver Josh Palmer, wide receiver Curtis Samuel, and linebacker Terrell Bernard, which that is a significant amount of this team's offensive talent and starters, as well as a key defender. I saw that Keon Coleman had a touchdown in this game after being inactive for a few weeks. So good to
Yep.
get a contribution from him. The team certainly needed that. Hopefully they can get healthy. I think this says more about the Steelers as being not a competitor than the Bills having like announced themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, do you know who the leading receiver for this game was?
Oh goodness.
I'm just looking it up because I wanted to see how Keon did.
I know Khalil Shakir did not have a good game. I know Kincaid, we already mentioned, was inactive. Josh Palmer, Curtis Samuel. Would it have been a
Mhm.
Bills receiver? I'm like, who's even left on that team? Um,
Hey, fun fact, Brandon Cooks is, which I forgot. He's not the answer, but I had totally forgotten he
I
joined this
forgot.
team.
Yeah, I totally forgot he is there now too. Is it a Bills pass catcher?
Well,
Like it's not a
I'm talking
Steeler.
about. Oh, sorry, I meant who was the Bills leading,
Oh, I see.
who had
Um,
the reception. So yes, it is a Bill by virtue of the question, I suppose.
I don't think it would be
Although
Dawson Knox.
looking at the Steelers, they are also the second most total in the game.
Was it James
Um,
Cook?
it is James Cook.
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes
Three
sense.
receptions, 33 yards, just edging out DK at three receptions, 32 yards. And of course,
Those
this
were the
week's
highest receivers in this game. That's
no, the
horrible.
highest receiver was, of course, Darnell Washington with two receptions for
Mm.
45 yards.
One of them was a
Um,
huge catch, actually. I remember that.
yeah. So
Awesome.
pretty tough sledding. The Bills at least able to spread the ball around. Four of these players had one catch.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of Josh Allen
Uh,
running the ball.
a lot of Josh Allen, in fact, securing his, well, what's the trivia question here?
His Josh Allen secured a blank amount of rushing touchdowns for a quarterback, which is the most in NFL history, surpassing Cam Newton. Do you know how many touchdowns he has rushed for in his NFL career?
119.
Okay, it's not nearly that high. It's 76.
Oh, my bad.
So,
I honestly thought I was guessing lower than like I thought of a higher number and then was like, I think this is about okay. My bad. I did not know
yeah,
where that stat was
quarter
living.
QBs don't get that many rushing TDs, but Josh Allen now holds the crown, and of course will get many more before his career is done, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. I just feel like you get enough like 1 yard situations with a rushing
Right.
quarterback and that would just go in, but fair enough. Was either of these teams the team that signed Thielen?
Yeah, the Steelers picked up Adam Thielen, which I do not see this. They probably will slip into the playoffs, maybe. I mean, right now, I think Baltimore still holds the division lead despite the loss over the
Correct.
Steelers, and I don't foresee that changing, and I don't foresee the Bills not being a wild card team, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of the other wild card teams shortly.
As Thielen, a longtime Viking, obviously he came back this year. Um, Steelers are not the fate I would have wished if competitor was the hope. But that's
I
okay.
have a little more Steeler news as
Hit
well
hit
that I
us.
didn't put on the doc. It's pretty recent.
Yep.
Mutually parting ways with Darius Slay.
I did see that today.
Yeah, so he's
Wow.
gonna be. He said he's still considering playing for a team, just not the Steelers. And you know what? I agree. Don't play for the Steelers. Play somewhere else. Um, Mr. Darius, maybe he'll sign with an actual contender. We'll see.
Um,
Um,
I
they
saw I saw
also,
Lions outlet was like sign Darius Slay Lions, and that would be pretty cool.
yeah, we could use almost anybody. So
Yeah.
sure.
If you are breathing and would like to join the Detroit Lions, anyway. Last game, the first game that graced the new 50-inch TV in my living room here was Monday Night Football. Do you want to introduce this electric contest for us, Damon?
I don't know if electric is the word I would use.
Well, the TV has electricity
Patriots.
in it, so.
I see. Patriots had 33 against the Giants. This game was out of hand early. It was like 10-0 pretty early on in this one. For the Patriots in their red uniforms, which aren't really that cool, but they're so much cooler than their normal uniforms that kind of stink. So I was okay with it. Some of the throwback fits. And yeah, Drake May, I think coming into this next week is the MVP favorite, which is kind of insane. As the Patriots now 11-2, going into the bye this week, which is wild to think about. Yeah, it was not close. Jackson Dart took a major hit in this game. Did you see the hit? My goodness.
I don't think I did see the hit.
He scrambled, of course, and goes kind of going to the sideline, but he didn't quite go out of bounds yet. And Patriots linebacker Ellis is his last name, Sean Ellis maybe, um,
Christian
came
Ellis.
over. Christian Ellis, I was totally wrong. Just cracked him, just slammed him out of bounds, and no flag on the play because Jackson Dart was still in bounds. And Theo Johnson and among other Giants did not take too kindly to that. Several scuffles throughout for a couple different
Ooh,
hits on Dart. Yeah,
I
leveled.
will I will say he was leveled, but he made shoulder to shoulder contact.
Yeah,
He
it
didn't
was a
necessarily.
legit tackle. It was just like I think what people are mad about is, for several years the quarterbacks have kind of very Mahomes thing, um, are kind of able to skirt on the out of bounds lines, but like they'll use that to their advantage to get an extra yard or two. And I feel like people complained about that for a while, and now the NFL is like, we're not doing it. If you're in bounds and you get hit, that's on you. And I think this was an example of that. Like they're not gonna. I think, a year ago that could have been easily called an unnecessary roughness or something like that. But it wasn't. Actually, Theo Johnson got a penalty for that, for going over there and pushing them in the altercation, and then the scramble then didn't count. So, um, tough, 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 tough.
Yeah.
And yeah, I also wanted to mention Abdul Carter got benched in the first quarter, didn't play the whole first quarter as the Patriots were walking all over the Giants because apparently he's been tardy a lot. And we already had the sleeping thing happen where he said he wasn't sleeping. They just changed the schedule on him earlier in the year after they made the coaching change. So another instance for their number 3 overall pick. That doesn't look too good.
Abdul Carter just showing me I too could be the third overall pick in the NFL.
It's
Thanks,
okay. You're
Abdul.
only 3 minutes tardy today. It's okay.
Yeah, depends on time dilation, such, such, such. Let's move on to the playoff standings update. Do not look at the playoff picture, Damon. Do not look at the playoff picture.
I've looked
I'm
at
going to
it
take
plenty
the
of times.
Okay, well, I'm going to take the NFC. You're going to take the AFC. We'll see if you were paying
I
enough
was gonna
attention
share
here.
my screen, but I don't have to.
Don't share it yet because I want to. Well, I'm going to list the 7 teams in the
Yeah.
NFC playoff picture, and I want you to tell me which one has the lowest probability to make the playoffs currently. Okay?
Okay. I've looked
One.
at it, but I haven't looked at it recently.
Okay, 1 through 7.
Yeah.
Number one seed in the NFC is the Bears,
I couldn't tell if
ahead
you wanted me to
of.
guess or not.
I was thinking about it and then I went for it. Ahead of the number 2 Rams, they have the same record, 9-3.
Yeah.
Eagles drop to the third seed at 8-4. Bucks leading the NFC South at 7-5. Seahawks at 9-3 in the 5 seed. Packers 8-3-1 in the 6 seed, and Niners at 9-4 in the 7 seed. So a hyper loaded wild card picture right now. And it's going to take a lot of summer loving for the teams next up to make their way back in, and I'll announce them shortly. But who of those 7 teams is least likely to make the playoffs? All of them, obviously, well over 50%.
That's so interesting. Because obviously logic would be like, well, duh, it's the 7th seed. But I guess that's probably not the case. That's why you wouldn't have asked me this question. So the Packers are at 6, you said. Obviously, the Bears above them at the 1 seed. The Seahawks are at 5. I don't know why they would be lower than the Niners, who are at 7 if they're in the same division. They have a better record. Bucks. What's the Bucks record?
The Bucks are 7-5.
I'm gonna say it's the Bucks because the Panthers are hot on their tail.
That is a logical guess. The seven seed has a 92% chance, which I believe is
Wild.
fourth highest on this list. The team least likely to make the playoffs currently at 75% is the number one seed Chicago Bears.
That's
Despite
crazy.
despite leading the conference, they are currently the least
I
likely team to make the offs. If you want to throw it up now, I just wanted to give you that trivia question
no,
because I
no, I
found the
get it.
answer. That's why I was disengaged. Just I was like, wait, I got to make sure they are the only team at the top of this list. Um, so absolutely crazy there in the NFC. Do you want to take us through the AFC top seven, and then we can look at the teams in the hunt on either side?
Let's do it. In the top seven in the AFC, we have the Patriots 11 and 2, the Broncos at number two, 10 and 2, the Jaguars at number three, leading the AFC South 8 and 4, the Ravens, the four seed right now, 6 and 6. The Chargers 8 and 4 at the 5 seed, the Colts 8 and 4 at the 6 seed after losing that division lead, and the Bills as the 7 seed at 8 and 4. So also relatively loaded, and then there are some teams on the bubble looking in. Um, but yeah, this top seven makes sense to me. And, I won't give you the question since I have it pulled up already, but it seems as if the five seed Chargers are currently have the lowest probability at 62% to make the playoffs of the teams that are already in the playoff picture at this moment.
Can you do me a weird favor? Can
I'll
you
do a weird
refresh your
favor.
page?
Okay. Ah,
So
interesting.
here's why I asked you to do that. On my page, I have
Uh,
the alternative logo for the Ravens in place of that logo. And I believe the Eagles logo just changed from the normal Eagles logo to the alternate Eagle. And I have no idea why this is happening.
yeah, it's weird. My Charger helmet just changed to the alternate Charger one. It was
But
just the
my
bolt.
my Raven is front facing. Let me refresh this now. This
That
is really
that's
strange.
that's why they just have like I guess probabilities of logos you can get per team
Wait,
or
it has to be because now the Eagles are their normal logo, but the Ravens are still the front facing logo. What is going on? Um,
strange
Please
choice.
scroll down further. Let's talk about the wild card and see if there are any other teams with this quirk. That's really strange. I have a different Texans logo than you.
I
This
definitely
is,
had the red Texans logo the first time before I
yeah,
refreshed
I
it.
have that one now. That's really
Yeah.
weird. Sorry, that's just such a funny quirk. I don't know why they would do that. Anyway, on the NFC side, I didn't realize, the Lions are number eight here. At 43% at current 7-5 team, followed by their opponent on Thursday, the Cowboys 6-5-1. In the 10 spot, Panthers 7-6. The Falcons at 4-8 alongside the Vikings. The Commanders pulling up the rear of teams that have a chance at 3-9, which means the 13 seeded Cardinals are out before the 14 seeded Commanders, also 3-9. Saints and Giants eliminated. The Giants, I believe, the first to be eliminated at 2-10 and 2-11, respectively.
Yeah. Giants Saints eliminated. No surprise there. Those are the two lowest seeds I had in the NFC coming into the season. Cardinals 3 and 9. We've talked about the disappointments, the health injuries and stuff like that. But yeah, after a relatively hot start, ugh. Um, Looking at the rest of the picture, Commanders, Vikings, Falcons are all at 1%. So basically they need a freaking miracle from every other team and themselves, and I don't see that happening, so we can go ahead and count them out. So that leaves us, Jared, to the 8 to 10 Lions, Cowboys, Panthers. This Thursday matchup between the Lions and Cowboys pretty much knocks one of these teams out, I think.
Yeah, it puts us in the teens percentage wise. We basically flip probabilities with the Cowboys if we lose this game. So, um, yeah, it's a really big matchup and one I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit more. Um, and yeah, it's got me on edge. It's been a really unexpected season as a Lions fan for sure. We had a very difficult schedule. I think there are changes at offensive coordinator coming in the offseason. I don't think that experiment's worked out, unfortunately. But yeah, definitely have had to shift my understanding of where the team is. I still think even if this season, which I'm going to knock on desks, doesn't go the way we want, there's reason for optimism for the seasons to come that we will um, resemble the teams of years past. I'll point to the Eagles, who I believe got knocked out of the playoffs in the wild card after winning the Super Bowl, and then suddenly roared back to life. So each season's different. Let's take a look at the AFC side, Damon, who is on the cusp in the AFC.
On the cusp in the AFC, we have the Texans at the 8 seed, Steelers at the 9 seed, Chiefs at the 10 seed. Both those teams, Steelers and Chiefs, 6-6. Dolphins 5-7, Bengals 4-8. The Jets 3-9, baby. The Jets are back alive after not winning for a long time. And then the 14 seeded Browns also 3-9. The only technically eliminated team being the 15 seeded Las Vegas Raiders down here at 2-10. Sorry, in addition to the even worse 1-11 Titans. I forgot that there's 32 teams in the NFL. My little
Oh
brain
yeah,
always
totally
thinks
fair, totally
30 for
fair.
the NBA. So I just, did the math wrong. But those are the two teams eliminated for our purposes. We can pretty much say the Browns, Jets, Bengals, and Dolphins have no shot. They're all 2% or less here. Um, and again, that would be like they go undefeated, and also several other teams lose every game they need to lose. Doubt that the probabilities will go that way for these teams. So we can just kind of look again here at the 8 through 10. 7-5 Texans, 6-6 Steelers, and 6-6 Chiefs. How about this? Do you think any team here, Texans, Steelers, Chiefs, are going to make the top seven? If so, who's going to fall out?
It's a good question. I'm looking here, Texans 63% chance to make the playoffs right now, which I assume is because of the parity in their division.
According to
Um,
playoff probability by Next Gen Stats, which means absolutely goddamn nothing. But yeah.
it made for interesting trivia earlier to the credit of Next Gen Stats. In my opinion, I know the Texans actually play the Chargers later in the season. I believe
hmm
that's week 17. And I think the Texans would be the team to make it back in. I think right now the Chiefs are just in a really difficult spot with every wild card team having two wins on them and the Colts slipping in credibility but looking credible enough. If I had to pick one of these two teams to fall out, it's Chargers or Jags, and I think the Texans would take the place of the Jaguars. I honestly think there's just a real chance the Steelers straight up miss this year. I think 9-8 won't be
I think
enough,
they
and I think
will.
that's where they're headed. You think they'll make it?
No, I think they'll miss for sure.
They'll miss. I hope so, and I think that will have some look in the mirror happening in Pittsburgh, and I wonder if a new era of leadership may dawn after a long Tomlin reign. But to be
So
seen.
we're going to talk about this, but the Texans and Chiefs actually play this week. Um,
Wow.
that's big matchup there for both of those teams to stay alive, similar to the Lions and Cowboys on the other side. Then the Chiefs have the Chargers. That'll be a big game.
Hmm.
Then they have the Titans, free win, right? That's good. Then they have the Broncos on Christmas Day, another huge game. And then they end their season with the Raiders, which will probably be another free win. So they basically got two freebies in there. But Texans, Chargers, Broncos is going to be a tough, stretch of teams that are all competing for something here down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks a lot like Detroit does right now, where you probably, if you go 4-1 in that slate, um, I think you have a really good shot of making the playoffs if you're the Chiefs. 10-7 with a couple key division wins there. Um, because I think they're looking up at the rest of the division in terms of tiebreakers. Week one, Chargers winning, and then I believe the Broncos dispatched them as well a few weeks back. So, um, yeah, I think if you're less than 4-1, especially if two of those three losses come, or excuse me, if you lose two games in that group of three, Chargers, Texans, and Broncos, I don't see a road for them. I think that's too insurmountable.
How about
Not only are you,
this?
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
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 you
no,
said.
nothing to say, please.
I'm about a different team, so if you were
Um,
going to finish your Chiefs thought.
no, I mean I think those three games they have to go at least 2-1 in those games, or I just don't see a path. Um,
Yeah.
Anything less
My
than that, and they're cooked.
division rival for them that are still alive here, the Chargers. They have Eagles this week. Chiefs next week. I already mentioned that. Cowboys the week after. Texans. You already talked about that game. Broncos week 18. That is a really hard 5 games to close your season out. And granted, they are 8-4, but man, they have to come out on top. At least three of those teams, I think they have to beat.
I agree. I think um probably in both divisions, it's likely 11 wins, maybe 10 for the 7 seed punches your ticket. Um, which means if you're on the outside looking in right now, I think you need to go about 4-1, realistically. And going to be difficult for Detroit. We already talked a little bit about their schedule, but I'm just going to look up the last 5 games here. Obviously playing the Cowboys this week, followed by the Rams in Los Angeles. That is going to be a really challenging game. And then we host the Steelers, go to Minnesota, who has beat us this year, and then go to Chicago. So, um, last one I'll bring up, and then I think we can move on to our wheel unless you have more. Cowboys at Lions, host Vikings, host Chargers, go to the Commanders, and then go to the Giants. So I think the Cowboys have a much safer path,
Hmm.
provided that the division opponents don't prove to be unexpected.
Yeah, I'll do the Colts as they're kind of falling off here. We got Jaguars twice, which we've already talked about. Those are super important as they're obviously tied right now. Seahawks, Niners, Texans. That's um,
Yeah.
that's going to be tough for them to close out if they look like the Colts we've seen these last couple of weeks.
Yep. A
And if
lot
there's
of
any
big
shot
games
for the
coming up.
Panthers, part of it is them playing the Bucks twice still after their bye,
Those are going to be much must watch TV for these division races. I'm actually
and
really
a
excited to see how
freebie
that
against the
shapes.
Saints. So if they can, you know, take care of business against the Bucks,
Man, I don't know if any division game's a freebie. I just don't trust a division matchup, even if it's a bottom feeder. We watched Buffalo get trounced by the Dolphins. I think anything's possible.
it's fair. It's fair. It's fair. It's fair. They also play the
Um,
Seahawks, so yuck.
you know what else is fair?
What's
The
that?
randomness of the wheel. I think it's time.
The ever fair wheel. You're like, please, please, give me out. Um,
I watched the Raiders and the Chargers play. Um, 5 teams this week. So,
yeah, one of them's on bye. One of the teams we still need to watch is not available this week.
um, I want to see what matchups we have at risk here because I'm gonna root for one of the two good teams, and then they're gonna be playing the Ghost of Christmas Past or something. Um, I would say the two good teams on here are the Ravens and the Broncos. The Broncos are playing
The Raiders.
the Raiders. Oh boy, sorry. I
Awesome.
guess I blocked it out. Um, yeah, you're right. And then the Ravens are. Wow, I am illiterate today. Ravens
The
are. Who are the Ravens playing? Oh, the Steelers.
division
Oh,
matchup against the Steelers, who are
so
also
there's
up.
basically a 2-5 chance, and then a 1-4 chance you're watching Ravens Steelers, whether you like it or not.
Right. Hey, that's
Uh,
that's they're tied for the top of the division. That could be fun. That could be interesting.
yeah. If I get two pieces of paper towel wet and see which one breaks first, is that fun to watch? I don't know.
For
Um,
sure.
all right. Let's spin this wheel, and who's up first?
I'm up first. I'm up first. Um, what's the worst game? That's the one I'll get, I'm sure. I mean, watching anyone
Browns
play
Titans
the
is an option.
that's one of the worst that we've
It's
had.
it's
So
so bad it's good, I think. Like
the
there's
Browns
a
defense will
darkness.
maybe feast enough that it's like fun, but
If you get the
that's like the only
Browns,
hope.
if you get the Browns, I would potentially trade for it if I get stuck with Ravens Steelers. So just bear
Oh,
that in mind.
watch Myles Garrett get 17 sacks in one game. It would be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see who I get. Let's go ahead and let's stop messing around. Oh, goody.
Right.
Baltimore.
And we can't watch the
Um,
same game, which means I cannot watch the Steelers. So
I'll take them
it's
off. Take them off the list here.
my three options are Browns, Titans, um, Broncos, Raiders, and Vikings,
But
Commanders.
that,
This might be just the
that,
worst week. This may be the worst week the wheel's ever seen, just in terms of like
the
terrible
things we
opponents for
have
good teams.
available here, yeah, stuff.
Come
It's
on,
super fun.
Browns. Come on, Browns. Please
Just praying for Browns Titans. That's how good
be
this
my
this
poison,
wheel
Cleveland.
is.
Stop, stop, stop. Yes. Yes. Jerry Seinfeld is pleased. Browns Titans, baby. Let's freaking go. This is going to be, it's in Cleveland. Cam Ward travels to face the quarterback we thought might go with him at the top of the draft.
Mm.
Shadur Sanders, the fifth round phenom. Subtle narrative? Interesting. Um,
Sad you didn't get these guys when Dylan Gabriel was at QB.
yeah, I think the Shador first round hype gives this a new bend. And Shador will have a moment of great emotional strength in the second quarter after throwing his second pick when he
Mm.
realizes it's not his moment and turns to Dylan. Kind of like you've seen My Hero Academia, correct? Um,
Parts, yes.
do you remember the fight between All Might and All for One? And at
It's the
the
worst
end,
podcast ever. Yeah.
this is a really good podcast. For the anime fans in the crowd who are still listening, thank you. There's an anime fight where a mentor character uses the last of his strength and then points at a camera behind him
Yes.
and says, "It's up to you now." Of course,
Yeah.
indicating both all young heroes and his mentee. And that is what Shador is going to do to Dylan Gabriel as
I
the
see.
Browns are
Yeah,
slipping
yeah, yeah.
away against Cam Ward and the Titans before Dylan shows who should have been the first overall pick, and then requests a release to go join the Titans as their savior. Um, High odds of that, and if it happens, I will let you know. Uh, let's preview the games this week. As we've already discussed, there are a number
What?
of clunkers.
How about this? Let me ask you this about your game.
Please, please.
What's we're not gamblers, we're not pro gambler. In fact, we're anti-gambling. Um, but
Yeah, unethical.
if you had to throw a dart at a point total for this game,
Are you looking at it right now, like the
I'm not
over
looking at
under?
it. No, no, no. I'm just asking what you think. I can look if you want.
My If I were to create the over under for this game, it would be 38.
I I was literally like 17. I was like, I don't know, like
See, you
something.
think that, and then that's just not how it happens, you know?
Let me see what I can find here by a very quick. It's 33 and a half. So you are not far off.
Not super far.
Um
I mean, that feels really low on average. I don't know what the average
I
over
never
under
really
is,
look at
but
NFL over under, so I have really no clue, but that makes sense why you wouldn't put it so low. Um who do you think's favored and by how much?
Browns -3.
Browns minus 4.5. So again, not far off. Yeah, I feel like I would not be shocked if it was like, and it's over 6-0. Like,
Oh, for sure.
awesome.
Has there been a game you can remember in your lifetime where there was one player on either team who was playing, not like a benched quarterback in week 18, who was
Yeah.
so much better individually than the quality of the game combined? Because I feel like Miles Garrett as an individual player
Yeah.
is so much
Yeah.
more exciting and interesting than the entire like contest. So,
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I can think of some standout performances, but I don't think that was necessarily like this player's so much better than everybody. I just think, they were having a crazy day. Like the Isaiah Rodgers game, right? Earlier this season where he had like two turnovers for touchdowns for the Vikings.
oh, that's a good
Um
one. Yep, that's a good one.
like back-to-back possessions. It was like, what is going on?
I mean,
That's like a
maybe it was
standout.
Browns Raiders with Miles Garrett going insane and Browns Raiders.
Right.
Um, yeah, that's a good one, Isaiah Rodgers. But I don't think anyone went into the game going like, "Man, Isaiah Rodgers is elite."
Right.
Um,
Maybe when I was a kid and like the Bears were literally winning games because Devin Hester was kick returning and punt returning touchdowns at an insane rate.
Devin Hester rules, man. I
Yeah.
I think that Devin Hester is what's good about football.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go to our previews. And I'm gonna say I'm emotionally exhausted from thinking about the Lions too much, so maybe we skip Cowboys Lions. We've talked about it so much already. Unless you
It's
have more you want to
important.
add. Yeah.
I'll tell you that. It's important.
Yeah. If
It's
you
an
have anything
important
you want
one.
to say about it, I know I monopolized the conversation. I will just listen quietly.
Here's what I'll say about what I'm excited about for it as a fan, not thinking about the Lions' potential playoff hopes. Without Amon-Ra, who I love, and you know I love, I have a shirt. He's awesome. My fantasy team has had him every year.
Yep.
Um, the JMO Tesla combo could be an
Yeah.
interesting one to see this week. So I'm curious what that looks like.
Yeah. Tesla got a few catches on Thanksgiving, and I think we invested a lot in him and like him a lot as a player. So I'm excited to see more of him as well. Glad you brought that up. I'll let you have first pick. What game do you want to talk about?
Oh, goody. Yeah, I know we breezed past my game a little. Steelers Ravens. It's a battle for the division title, so that's why it's important. But in terms of the quality of the game, I'm not super excited. Um, okay, what else do we have here on the docket? Oh, yuck! This is a yucky week. Let me tell you. Um, I'll take Bears at Packers, the rival NFC North matchup. Haven't played each other yet this season. Both looking positive. Bears number one seed in the NFC, and apparently the lowest percent chance of the top seven to make the playoffs, which is wild that you pointed that out to me. And then the Packers at the sixth seed with a good record themselves, coming off a good win over the Lions for Thanksgiving. Um, so yeah, who will be atop the North? I don't know if like record wise it means the Packers will be atop if they win this game, but a win over the Bears I'm sure would put them in a pretty feel good position for the rest of the season. Whereas vice versa, Bears take this win and they kind of solidify that hold of the division um, by putting distance between them and the Packers. So it's
The
it's pretty
Packers would
important
take the
for.
division lead with a win, just
Okay,
because they
so
have the
yeah,
tie. So that would give
very
them the
very
home field.
important for both squads. Then.
Yep. Um, as a Lions fan, again, I told you I was reading that article. It looks like the safest way to get into the playoffs is probably to root for one of these teams to sweep the other.
What
Um,
if they tie both games?
that's also good for us, I would assume. If the Bears are 9-3-2 and the Packers are 8-3-3 or whatever,
It would be crazy.
that would be nuts. I thought about that earlier. But yeah, great pick. Definitely circled on my list. High impact game for a division who I think their teams have a chance to make noise in their respective playoffs. Um, okay, I'm up, I guess. I'll take Monday Night Football. I think this could be sneaky fun. Eagles at Chargers. Eagles have to travel, but their defensive line is stout. The addition of Jalen Phillips meaningful, and they are just stocked at the tackle and edge positions. They could feast on the Chargers. Conversely, if they are getting O'Marion Hampton back, as you say, maybe the Chargers just turn to a ground and pound attack and force the Eagles to honor the run. And obviously the Eagles now dropping two in a row. First to the Cowboys, then to the Bears. So they certainly have not looked to be in peak form. And we'll see whether their offense is able to do enough. Um, the Chargers could do what they did against the Jaguars and absolutely lay an egg, or they could come out swinging and make this a really interesting Monday night game. I am rooting hard for the latter. I think this could be a really fun one.
Yeah, I hope so too. It'll be a good end of the week. I will take a game we've already mentioned, Texans at Chiefs, Sunday Night Football. Really important for both teams. For the Texans, because currently they're third in the division, though they've had a nice resurgence as of late with the stellar defense that we mentioned. And they are barely on the outside of the playoff picture, and a win over the Chiefs would do them some good. Whereas for the Chiefs, they basically got to win, or they are pretty much just then that's a miracle for them to make the playoffs. So they got to go, kind of like the Lions 4-1 here to finish out the season and have a chance at making the playoffs. And this really strong defense, with their, I would say, relative lackluster performance on offense, aside from Rashee Rice lately, makes this a tough game for them, even though they are playing at home, probably one of the tougher places to play in the NFL.
Um, yeah, no, certainly a high leverage Sunday Night Football game that I think actually aged really well. As a great matchup where if the Texans defense gets riled up enough, they could be ending not ending a dynasty, but certainly creating the most perilous chapter in the Chiefs dynasty so far. I think there's only one other game that I can muster anything for. It's Colts Jaguars, another one we've
Right.
mentioned. This one's in Jacksonville. Um, I don't necessarily think either of these teams are terribly watchable. I will say a bit of ignorance on my part, not to realize the Jaguars are somehow leading this division. I do think the best AFC playoff picture probably has both the Colts and the Texans in the playoffs. I think this is a really good test. Have the sliding Colts revealed their true nature? Or are the Jaguars the same wishy-washy squad we've grown not to trust? Um, this game's going to go a long way in telling us that, though, of course, these teams will play again in Indianapolis. I ultimately think the Texans are the team I trust the most out of this division, but one of these two is almost guaranteed to make the playoffs at this point. So, huge game with playoff implications in that respect, and one I'll have my eye on. In an otherwise pretty well, I guess I'll be watching Titans Browns. But if you aren't cursed to do so, probably the most well, I love it. Most interesting game in that slot behind Steelers Ravens.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. That was the only one I kind of was looking at like, okay. Um, and that's it. So, one line time, as they say. I'll start with Seahawks at Falcons. Who will have more yards, Bijan Robinson or Kenneth Walker, and Zach Charbonnet, and maybe JSN?
Um, this is I've got one for Commanders Vikings. It's a really deep cut. Um,
Excellent.
Commanders Vikings. I never thought to see the competition between McCarthyists and commies play out on a football field, but here we are.
Wow, that's wild. Here's
Crazy. I'm
here's where
so
I'll
sorry.
go. I got a double. I got a double for you. Double up on that. Commanders at Vikings. You like that? Probably not.
Oh, good one. Good one. I like how yours was a crowd pleasing, lovable reference to Kirk Cousins, and mine was a reference to 1950s and 60s politics.
I feel like
Um,
that feels about right.
we hit
That
both ends
feels
of the
on
spectrum.
par.
Both ends of the spectrum. Oh my God. That's a great one. I totally forgot about the Kirko Bowl. And you get the next one here.
Yeah, I'll take Bagels at Bills. If you circled this matchup in the preseason, you're probably pretty excited about it. But with the oh wait, I forgot this is a one-liner. I was about to just start full on talking about this.
Full analysis, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, wait a second. And let me try that again. Bengals at Bills. Joe versus Josh. I don't have anything. I can't think of anything interesting. Help me, Jared, please.
For Bengals Bills, goodness gracious. Sorry. Here's the best I can do. Um,
Okay.
Bengals Bills. Are the Bengals with Joe Burrow too good for the Bills to somehow lose to?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking like this feels like a game the Bills could randomly lose, as they are apt to do this season, but
Yeah, it
I
definitely
couldn't get
definitely
there with the
reeks
one
into that.
line
It's tough. It's a matchup that I think would have had a lot of storylines if the Bengals were good, but because it doesn't, who cares?
because they are
Um,
not.
because they are not. Sorry, let me get the grammar right.
No,
All right,
I was following up your statement. I wasn't trying to correct you
no. Listen, I correct you from time to time. I invite correction in the reverse. Hold me accountable.
I
And I
wasn't
will treasure
trying
it.
to. I was pointing out that I wasn't trying to. It was not
Just
something I
tell me
was
I'm flawed. Um,
actively encouraging. Okay.
yeah.
Anyways,
Okay, this one I'm just gonna stick in the history theme, I guess.
yeah.
Saints, Buccaneers. At one point in history, clergymen and boatmen worked together to colonize America. Now they're battling each other for a claim in the NFC South.
My God. I would like to call this the Jean Lafitte Bowl. That's how I feel about.
Who's
You know
Jean?
Jean
What is that?
Lafitte? You know
No.
Jean Lafitte is a Louisiana-based pirate. I'm pretty sure. Um, a former French pirate. He spent some time in Galveston. That's why I have some Jean Lafitte knowledge to my
How do I spell that?
L-A-F.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah,
Jean Lafitte was a French pirate who operated in the Gulf of Mexico.
right.
Um, Interesting.
French pirate, Gulf of Mexico. That's Saints Buccaneers right there. Pirate,
Yeah, let's
Saints.
use
Yeah.
yours because mine touched on cultural issues in a way that I think was incomplete in its exploration. So, the Jean Lafitte Bowl. If you didn't get the McCarthyism one, you're gonna love the Jean Lafitte Bowl.
That's oh, this is going so well. Dolphins at Jets. One by sky, one by sea. Neither have landed this season.
Nice, good one, good one, very solid. Um, Broncos, Raiders. Pete Carroll is willing to sell his soul for cloning technology that allows him to field 21 Brock Bowers and one Max Crosby, but unfortunately, our technology is too slow and the Broncos pass rushers are too fast.
Why is it 21 hours? Why is there only one Max Crosby?
I don't know. I guess
Ratio is it feels like it would just be half and half for defense and offense. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like Brock Bowers would probably do better at corner than Max Crosby just based on.
Max Crosby can't be the whole defensive line. It's just Max Crosby and a bunch of
Well,
Brock
no,
Bowers.
okay, let's do this. Let's say he's gonna have like we'll give him 16 Brocks and we'll give
Mm.
him six Crosbys because he can play four linemen and then he can be two of the linebackers and then Brock can be a coverage linebacker and the defensive backs.
I feel like
Um
Crosby had a shot at O-line as well.
yeah,
Perhaps a fullback.
that's a good point. Well, I mean, we haven't even talked about which of them would make a better long snapper.
That's that's
What's
the
your
best part
one-liner
about
for
the
Rams
one-liner
Cardinals?
segment. That's the best
Yeah.
part. Um, Rams at Cardinals, despite his best effort at NFL record 72 pass attempts, Jacoby Brissett could not get the Cardinals over the hump yet again as they fall to 3-10.
This could totally end like 59 of 72 for 191 yards. Like,
Yeah. Screen pass. Just over and
uh,
over again.
oh, that's great. That is our last game of this week, which means we have come to the end of this podcast. If you'd like to learn more about history, Google it. And if you'd like to learn about football, listen to our other shows.
Listen
Um,
to listen to something else. You don't have anything here.
something like that. If you want a bizarre intersection of two people's varied interests that happen to have football as an overarching theme, just keep guzzling our
That
content,
that's interesting word to choose. Sure.
consuming our content. Um, anyway, with that said, it's time for you to make my kick of the week. I made a new K ball, folded it myself. Not
After
perfect, but
losing the previous ball, kicked it right into the stands. Crazy.
right into I made a young man or woman or non-binary person very happy
And
in the
then
stands.
some like 50-year-old billionaire man next to him stole the ball from him and ran out very unethically as what has
Yeah.
happened this season.
If that does happen in real life, you have my permission to egg that billionaire's home. Um, don't egg Kevin Petullo's home, please.
This
Uh,
is the Jared's ethical egg of the week.
the
This is a
ethical egg
person
of
you
the
could
week.
egg.
Um, we're not yoking around. What this guy did was
Oh,
seriously fried. Um,
wow.
wow. Um, anyway, let's kick this field goal so our tired selves can go. It's a smaller field goal this week.
I, I,
Um,
the best part about making the field goal post is I get to give you two L's.
this is for Michael Badgley to put the Colts in a more advantageous position in the fourth quarter. Aiming at the camera. Here we go. Like, subscribe, engage. Kick is up.
Oh, I felt the little camera shake there, so it must have been relatively central. And the kick was not very far as it was an extra point. Therefore, the kick is good.
Woo!